Your intonation will also be very important when you find yourself doing things like bending notes. And bending notes is a study unto itself. And I've spent many hours focusing on bending notes. And usually there's a couple of things I could just point out that you may want to be aware of. When you bend a note, if you're bending 2 frets, I always recommend you coming down on the strings like this. If you find yourself playing the guitar like this, you're going to be really limited later. Because there's no real, this kind of way, there's no real dexterity in that. Some people play like this with their hand like this, and you can get a lot of dexterity that way. I usually do this with an occasional that, but this is comfortable to me. I feel like I've got stability, and if I bend notes, it feels really good to have this leverage right here and this kind of action. A lot of people, students I see bending notes, they use their fingers to bend notes, and it's squirrely. It's not consistent. If you're using your fingers, it's very hard to get to the note. But if you're using this kind of action in your wrist, see, I'm not pushing with my fingers. I'm like this. Same thing with pulling. I seem to be spitting all over the place. That happens when I start bending notes. So it's this action you're looking for. And your intonation is so brutally important when you're bending notes. And there's a couple of great exercises you can try. If you sit for an hour a day for a few weeks, a month, and focus entirely on bending notes, you're going to get very bored in the beginning, but you got to push through it and find the excitement in it. Every time you hit the right note, it's a victory. So one thing to do, if you're going to focus on doing nothing but bending notes, there's hundreds of permeations. There's just the very conventional 2-fret kind of a bend. And when I do that, it's basically 3 fingers down, and that's the note you want, 2 frets higher. So a great exercise, if you just sit for an hour and hit a note, and then bend to it, you'd be surprised how hard that is for some people. It was very hard for me for a long time, and still is occasionally. But you definitely want to get your intonation on when you're bending notes, and practice all over the place. Because low strings on the guitar are different than high strings. And if you have a whammy bar that's floating like mine, the whole feel and tension of stretching a note, all bets are off. You have to use your ear. And then you can experiment with bending 1 fret. With every finger. So the combinations are endless, how you can practice bending. I would go as far as bending things 3, 4, and 5 frets. Whoops, that's a tough one. Maybe I'll use a whammy bar to help. This is really helpful when you want the guitar to sing, because then the combination of playing high notes with good intonation and bending. Playing up high on the neck and stretching notes. Very few people really know how to make the guitar sing beautifully in the high register when stretching notes.